Competent swordsmen have a lot on their minds. Years of practice and training turn many of these decisions into instincts, but they still have to be conscious of many things during a battle. These are simple things you can include in your book to bring up the presentation of your swordsman by a whole nother level. I'm talking about simple things like the position of the sun. One of the things I often do sword fighting when I'm outside and it's a clear day is to circle my opponent, putting the sun at my back, putting the sun's light directly into their eyes. That gives them a clear disadvantage. This is something I often do in sword fighting that I don't see represented in books very frequently. Other things competent swordsmen have to keep in mind are their stance, when to strike their opponent, predicting their opponent's strikes, being unpredictable themselves, and being aware of their environment and using it to their advantage. So let's break these things down real quick. The first thing a swordsman has to think about in a fight is their stance. Stance determines balance, what shots are available to them and to their opponent, as well as their potential energy and their explosive energy. A swordsman never wants to lose his balance. This will look like a lot of swinging and regrouping. You swing and then you come back to your stance. This immediately makes your second priority breaking your opponent's stance. There's a lot of sequencing in sword fighting. You have some clashes and some flurries, but when you have the opportunity to break your opponent's footing or throw them off balance, you can usually end the fight rather quickly if you press that advantage. One of the keys to breaking your opponent's stance in battle is being unpredictable. Sun Tzu, the author of Art of War, once said that all warfare is deception, and I believe he was right. I often say that the key to surviving in battle is predicting your opponent's strikes, which then makes the key to killing your opponent being unpredictable yourself. This looks like feints, misleading your opponent, making them believe one thing is going to happen and then doing something different. Good swordsmen obviously know how to counter this, which is where we get some fun, fast flurries between swords. When two competent swordsmen are fighting, sometimes they'll stack their feints. They'll try a variety of things to open up their opponent. Watch this fight, for example. I try a variety of things, and when I finally see an opening, I take it. Competent swordsmen would also know the best time to swing at their opponent, when to engage, when not to engage. In my personal experience, I've learned that one of the best times to swing at your opponent is right after they've swung. They swing, they're slightly off balance, and there's a second before they retract their sword that there might be an opening you can take. Competent swordsmen would also be aware of their environment. After years of fighting, it becomes a habit just to keep track of their surroundings and use them to their advantage. Even if they're attacked from behind, they'll be able to navigate their surroundings at least well enough to take a second to regroup. There's a lot of different ways you can include this kind of stuff in your book. If you're in your swordsman's head, have him think about the feints his opponent is making and not fall for them. Have him thinking about the options his environment around him is giving him. Have him always falling back to his stance. You don't necessarily need to actually know the old European fighting styles. Well, you can if you want to include that in your world building or something, but you don't need to know the actual stances in order to include them in your book. Just have him think about, oh, I'm coming back to my stance, I'm breaking my opponent's stance, oh, I've broken his stance, now's the time to attack. If he thinks about these things, he'll come off as smart in the battle. Or if you have a different character being frightened of a competent swordsman, don't just have them think, oh, he's better than me. Have him think, he never falls for my feints, or she always predicts my strikes too well. Those kind of things will bring up the realism of what actually makes a swordsman frightening. So there you have it, 5 things you can include in your book to bring up the presentation of your swordsman's competence. Have them think about their stance, have them be unpredictable in their fighting, have them predict their opponents correctly, have them use the environment around them to their advantage, and have them know the best time to engage and disengage. I hope that was helpful. Thank you so much for joining me today. Enjoy writing those fight scenes in your books, and I will see you in my next video.